Hello everyone and welcome to Batman v Superman. Batman vs. Superman. The other one's a movie. This show is actually called Versus. I host it. My name is Mark, and this is the program where we take movies, TV, and performers and make them compete against each other for our amusement.
I'm just looking at all the guys' faces here in the control tower.
I'm good.
Sounds good to me.
Do it.
Yeah, as long as they're best friends.
And yep, I think we're cool with that.
Now sometimes you might say art is art and should only be judged on its own merit. And that argument doesn't really fly today because we have the greatest superheroes of all time and they've already shown their desire to beat one another to a pulp, so let's run it back.
Boy, you are in for a show tonight, son.
No mom names can save you now. It's Bruce Wayne taking on Clark Kent and Batman slugging it out against Superman. And here come the comments. Yes, I did refer to them as the greatest heroes ever. Why? Because they are. I love the MCU, and it's fun seeing Spider-Man swing around in all those adorable multiverses, but according to comic book sales, Superman and Batman are still number 1 and 2 all time in that order. They had a nice little head start, but that makes the relevance today all the more impressive. They're almost a century old each, and they still have beef with each other. In one corner, you have the alien fella from Krypton. His home planet blew up, he came to Earth, and on his chest he wears the symbol for hope, which is apparently spelled differently in Kryptonian.
Other breaking news. Water. Wet.
In the other corner, it's the kid who saw his parents get murdered, got a sweet inheritance, and used it to bring Gotham City's worst offenders to justice. And is now going to be played by Robert Pattinson on the big screen. We're still waiting for news about Superman. I have no idea what's going on.
Listen, it isn't that I don't trust you, but I don't trust you.
But I do know that Clark and Bruce have been pals, enemies, frenemies, and co-workers, and now they go mano a mano for the right to claim standalone superhero supremacy. Here's how we'll determine a winner. Round 1, box office. Round 2, Tomatometer / audience score. Round 3, origin of the species. Round 4, dastardly deeds. And then we'll do a wild card round that Batman hopes will involve gadgets, and Superman hopes does not involve neon green stuff. Before we ring the bell in this epic heavyweight slobberknocker, let's take a moment to remember all that these two do have in common. They love justice, they love their moms, their dads are donezo, billowing capes, they fought against Oscar winners, and both have been played by Ben Affleck.
I've been a little busy.
Kinda. I'll explain later. Okay, enough pleasantries. Superman is here on a mission to prove that he is Earth's mightiest hero, and Batman wants to avenge the loss he took last season on this show to Iron Man.
You filthy criminal.
Let's get it on. Round 1, box office. Any weirdo in a cape can save a few lives here and there. I did it yesterday. But it takes a hero to do it consistently, and it requires a superhero to do it while millions of people are forking over billions of dollars in hard-earned cash to witness them do it. That's the case with Bats and Supes, and their film lineage dates all the way back to 1966. The Super Bowl wasn't called that yet. The Beatles were in pre-production of that Peter Jackson documentary, and Adam West was playing Batman with Burt Ward as Robin.
You risked your life to save that riffraff in the bar?
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
We don't have accurate box office information for that film's release, since back then you could get a ticket with a stick of gum or a jaunty tune.
Holy heart failure!
So instead, let's earmark 1978. That's when we would believe a man could fly because Superman the movie told us so.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder starred as Clark and Lois Lane.
What more could anyone ask?
And Richard Donner was at the helm for the film that became a worldwide phenomenon. Even more important than its Cineplex receipts, which adjusted for inflation equals in excess of $500 million domestically, it was proof that Earth was ready to take a superhero movie seriously. This wasn't just kid stuff, it was for all ages.
When I was 6 years old, my father said to me,
Get out.
11 years later, Batman would reiterate that claim as Michael Keaton donned the cape and cowl for Tim Burton's first foray into Gotham City.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
The flick dominated the summer of 1989, taught this chubby kid that you could buy nachos at the concession stand.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
And cinema was changed forever. Again. Oh, and it raked in close to $600 million domestically when adjusted for inflation, which I will do for all these numbers so I don't have to keep saying that phrase over and over again.
Holy sardine!
Keaton would go on to make Batman Returns in 1992, then Val Kilmer took over the cape in 1995's Batman Forever, after which George Clooney grabbed the cowl and the nipples in 1997's Batman and Robin. In what has to be the loosest quadrilogy of all time, those three sequels combined for almost $900 million.
Meow.
Meanwhile, Reeve had already ended his run as Superman by the time 1989 rolled around, but not before making 3 sequels himself. These were accurately titled Superman 2, 3, and 4, The Quest for Peace.
How can one man be so square and so delicious?
And although they would amount to over $500 million total in Earth bucks,
The name of the game is making money.
2 and 3 did the lion's share of that work. Part 4 only earned $34 million in 1987.
Nobody's perfect.
And that's just the beginning of their story. 4 more Superman starring live-action flicks awaited us, but it was almost 5, and we could have seen Tim Burton direct Nicolas Cage in Superman Lives. At least we got a great documentary out of it by the sweatiest of us all, John Schnepp. As for the movies that did see the theaters, Superman Returns saw Brandon Routh take over the title role in 2006 before Henry Cavill would don it for 2013's Man of Steel, and then Batman v Superman, and finally, Justice League. B vs. S set the high bar of this crop, earning $359 million in the States and almost $900 million around the globe. And while that's great for Clark, it's going to help Bruce out just as much. BVS is also the highest grosser Batman has had since that little trilogy that Christopher Nolan directed starring Christian Bale as the Dark Knight. Hey, that's the name of one of those movies, and it alone crossed the $1 billion global mark.
Look, it's all a bit technical, but the important thing is that my company's future is secure.
Domestically, the Nolan trifecta of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises in 3 days after shattering his back collected over $1.5 billion, which is going to buy a lot of heating pads.
I thought my jokes were bad.
So let's crunch all these numbers like we're Superman compressing the Batmobile into guano dust. Looking at the entire sum of Superman's films, dude has grossed $2.32 billion at the talking picture houses. That makes for a per-talkie average of $290 million.
On the whole, I'd say it's been swell.
Swell?
And here's the heartbreaker. That average would have been up to $327 million if he just didn't go on that one quest for peace.
The pompous fool. He's played right into our hands.
Could that be the untimely interception that gives Batman this round? Bruce might not need it.
Shame on you. No such thing.
His movies have totaled $5.54 billion, which is a ton even for a super rich guy, and that makes a per-film average of $388 million every time he washes his tights.
Waiter.
Sir?
Can I?
Of course.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
What? And yes, those figures include the animated feature films The Great Mask of the Phantasm from 1993 and 2016's The Killing Joke. Those two only made $10 million combined on the big screen, yet Batguy is still nipping on $400 million per movie's heels.
Always bet on black.
That's quite the opening statement made by both comic book legends. For now, Batman doing all those weighted pull-ups pays off. He tops Superman in round 1, and it's 1-0.
I'm most grateful I wasn't aware of that.
Round 2, Tomatometer / audience score. More often than not, we line up around the block to see these titans in action, which is kind of silly because we could have just gotten our tickets and selected our seats on the Fandango app. Employee of the Month box checked.
Not in this universe.
But regardless of how we get into the theater, upon leaving, we owe Batman and Superman a debt of gratitude. Not for saving our lives or defeating bad guys, but because they both legitimize superhero movies for mass audiences and in terms of critical reception.
I'm here to help.
Looking at the Tomatometer digits, movie reviewers responded very favorably to both Clark and Bruce on their inaugural outings. The first 2 Superman films are fresh, and the first 4 theatrically released Batman films are fresh, dating all the way back to 1966's Batman the movie at 79%.
Holy Merlin the Magician!
1989's Batman is 71%, Batman Returns is 80%, and before Batman Forever, there was 1993's Mask of the Phantasm. I owned it on VHS if anyone wants to come over and look for it.
Get those wonderful toys.
Meanwhile, Superman set the standard for either property with a 94%, and Superman 2 smells really good with an 85%. Better yet, the audience scores for each of these 6 movies so far is fresh, with the highest being, you guessed it, Mask of the Phantasm. That movie is the bomb, yo.
There are very few people left in the world who feel comfortable saying that word.
As is the entire Batman the Animated Series. It was so good. And that's the great news. The bad news, neither franchise would see the fresh light of day again until 2005's Batman Begins. That film having an 84% is fine, but it's remarkable when you recall that Batman Forever's at 38% and Batman and Robin plummeted to 12%.
This is why Superman works alone.
What could be lower than that? Oh no, really? Quest for Peace? Yep, Superman 4 is at 10%, and Superman 3 is 29%. But the flying fellow would rebound with 2006's Superman Returns, which did come back to Freshville with a 75%. That was the most recent Superman movie that's fresh. It's weird, right? Because Man of Steel just missed at 56%, then Batman v Superman thudded at 29%, and Justice League landed with a 40%. But at least with those last two movies, Bats and Soups can just blame the other one, right? Batman Solo did have a better run, thanks to The Dark Knight equaling 1978 Superman with a 94%, and The Dark Knight Rises has an 87% because half that movie is pretty sweet.
Sorry to keep letting you down.
Oh, and Lego Batman. It's a great film, taps into the Batman pathos in a ferociously funny and frighteningly accurate kind of way.
I am super proud of myself.
And it's rewarded with a 90% on the Tomatometer.
That's my cross to bear.
Will Arnett and company, they're pretty great in it.
Prego.
You're the best, Batman!
Oh, I'm humble.
In case you didn't feel like doing math at home, because let's be honest, Wordle is more fun.
I may not understand any of that.
Don't worry, I did. Movies prominently featuring Superman average 52% on the Tomatometer, and their audience score hovers around 58%. That's almost fresh. Not bad. But Batman, despite living in a filthy city,
Worked for 20 years in Gotham. Oh, that's hole.
is fresh on both metrics. His Tomatometer average is 63%, and the audience score measurement is 68%. So again, it's an applaudable effort by the Man of Steel, but Metropolis is no match for Gotham thus far. The Dark Knight wins round 2 and takes a commanding lead, 2-0.
Is that how a warped brain like yours gets its kicks?
Round 3, Origin of the Species. This round is going to be one by which Crime Hater had the better origin story according to their film lineage. Who had the tougher go of it, who tugged on our heartstrings more, and by all means, who has the better training montages.
What is the point of all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
Bruce saw his parents murdered right in front of him on the streets of Gotham when he was just a little boy. And to pour salt on that wound, greedy studio execs would make him relive that moment every, 5 years since 1989? We get it. Tommy and Martha are dead. At least young Bruce got a consolation prize, lots of money, and a fancy butler.
Well, it's a good thing I left everything to you then.
Quite so, sir. And you can borrow the rolls if you like.
Yet even though his wealth is stashed in a vault so big it would make Scrooge McDuck drown, Bruce Wayne has never been able to fully recover from such a tragic event. Luckily for us, he takes his pain out on Gotham's underbelly.
I don't feel anything emotionally except for rage.
In 1989's Batman, it was a pre-Joker Jack Napier who did the nasty deed of de-parenting Bruce. Subsequent versions would portray the assailant as a desperate rogue criminal, but in the end, it was the same effect. Bruce had a hole in his heart that he continually tries to mend with justice, vengeance, and hanging upside down in the wee hours of the morning. Meanwhile, Superman's parents are also dead, as is just about everyone he ever loved on the homeworld of Krypton. Now, he was just a little baby, but Krypton, like Alderaan and Melmac before it, was destroyed moments after a ship departed that would jettison Kal to relative safety on Earth. And although Soup's parents are gone from a physical standpoint, he still has the impactful life lessons narrated by either Marlon Brando or Russell Crowe in his ear when he needs them the most. After suffering such tragedies as youths, both heroes kind of won the lottery. Sure, they were devastated emotionally, but for young Clark, he won a new set of parents, and they were loving and supportive. Even more so after they discovered that his strength, speed, and that whole flying thing was not of this earth. No matter what situation Kent would find himself in, or who he wound up battling, he always had a home in Smallville thanks to Ma and Pa Kent. As for Bruce Wayne, his lottery win was a little more literal. His family was loaded, so once he set his sights on fighting crime, he had all the resources that this Earth, and maybe some other planets, could provide at his disposal. Plus a butler that brings him 3 square meals a day. It's like having a Chili's right in your home. If the Chili's bartender would also help you build the Batcave and was really good at keeping secrets. Superman could also fly home to talk with his mom, but Batman having a confidant like Alfred at the ready was essential for his development. Alf, which is what I would call him,
Enough from the clown!
understood the pain felt by this kid and was always there to gently steer him in the right direction. But Clark found himself a gal pal he was mighty sweet on. Lois Lane has been played by everyone from Margot Kidder to Kate Bosworth to Amy Adams on the big screen, and shout out to Terry Hatcher. And Lois is the perfect companion for both Clark and Superman.
Any more at home like you?
Not really, no.
But if we're looking at this round as whose origin story is more exciting or tragic or emotional, we might assume it's Bruce Wayne, simply because we were right there to witness these events time and time again. But need I remind you again, Kal-El's planet blew up. Most kids get upset when they move out and their parents turn their room into the Peloton gym. Cal's got no home and he was just a little infant. At least Bruce was able to bathe and wipe himself by the time his parents ate it.
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
It's also tremendous world building for a film franchise to give us a peek as to what a super alien's homeworld was like. I was particularly impressed with Zack Snyder's powerful opening sequence in Man of Steel that shows the beauty that Krypton held juxtaposed against the corruption it had fallen prey to. Bruce's rents getting axed is a clear indication that someone needs to clean up Gotham City, but seeing Superman's home world makes us wonder if that fate could one day befall us Earthlings.
A day of reckoning is coming.
Both the Man of Steel and the Caped Crusader have origin stories that rival that of anyone in fiction in terms of scope, depth, emotion, pure violence, but I'm giving the nod here to Superman. He lost his people and gained a sense of purpose once he landed on Earth. We took him in, and as a result, he saves us when we're falling from buildings, especially if we're an attractive reporter for the day we plan it. Supes gets the win here and is finally on the board. It's Bruce 2, Clark 1.
You should not pick a fight with this person.
Round 4, Dastardly Deeds. It's neat to have a compelling yarn to spin as to why you became a superhero, but once you did, who was your competition? What were their nefarious plans and how did you thwart them? And most of all, how many Oscars did all those ne'er-do-wells have on their shelves? When it comes to villains, we have two all-time greats that debuted on the big screen at the exact same time as their more heroic counterparts. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor and Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Wait till they get a load of me.
Those two guys have no less than 5 Academy Award wins between them.
Doesn't it give you kind of a shudder of electricity through you to be in the same room with me?
And then Heath Ledger would win an Oscar for playing the Joker of The Dark Knight.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Currently, we have Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Superman big screen lore.
I love bringing people together.
But let's also look back and give some love to the original Otis, Lex Luthor's bumbling henchman played by acting great Ned Beatty. And who could forget Superman 3? We had Richard Pryor in there. It's not the best Superman movie, but Richard freaking Pryor. Batman seems to have the advantage as far as famous foils. After all, Arkham Asylum is a big place with lots of corners and the ability to house horrible people like the Riddler, the Penguin, Poison Ivy, and Mr. Freeze, to name a few. I'll toss Catwoman in the mix as well.
Perfect.
But more so when Lee Merriweather or Michelle Pfeiffer played the part.
You're overpaid. Hit the road.
Anne Hathaway's version is more out for her own interest than anything else, which is kind of how real-life cats are, am I right?
Meow!
But if Batman has the name power, Superman's enemies have more ambitious goals. Batman's main antagonists generally just want to wrest control of Gotham City for themselves. Even Bane, played by Tom Hardy, showed up to Gotham, blew up a bunch of bridges, and isolated the metropolis. Now, there was a nuke involved that could have gone off, but Gotham was again ground zero. And the League of Shadows as a unit, they took care of Rome and Constantinople in their millennia-old history, but they really took their time before falling a city. Like 1,000 years. There's being patient, and then there's being League of Shadows patient. Superman has to deal with entities who don't want to wreck a city or even a country. They want to destroy worlds. Just ask General Zod. Whether it's Terrence Stamp or Michael Shannon playing them in the movie theater, the fate of our planet is always at stake when they show up.
Where did you train? On a farm?
The only time Batman has really had to worry about humanity outside of his own town is when he teams up with Superman and the Zack Snyder Justice League, or the Justice League in the Zack's. I like both cuts, but if it was truly Zack's Justice League, couldn't we at least had one of those talking Ga'Hoole owls? I love those things. They're so cute but vicious. Bane broke Batman's back, and Doomsday killed Superman, according to the comics. His enemies aren't concerned with funny zingers or convoluted riddles.
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
They want blood, and lots of it. And in a cruel twist of irony here, they actually help Superman win this round. The stakes are higher, and anything they lack in personality or their ability to shuffle a deck of cards is made up for by their sheer will to end all life as we know it. Without Batman, Gotham City's tourist department would shut down. Without Superman, we're not around to enjoy A-plus programming like Versus.
You're fired.
Point goes to the Action Comics guy, and we got us a tied ball game heading into the final round.
I'll rend you limb from limb.
And now it's time for the wild card round, social impact. It all comes down to this. And if you think social impact isn't important, let me remind you, this isn't about the photo ops that Superman has with kids or the charity work that the Wayne Foundation does. In fact, this might be the single most important aspect of any fictional superhero, because this round asks the question, what effect have you, a fake individual, had on us, real people, in a real matrix? Sorry, well, I think I took the wrong pill.
Well, you know how it is, Mr. Fox. You're out at night looking for kicks. Someone's passing around the weaponized hallucinogens.
You're not supposed to take it's the blue one. Okay.
I know the truth. There's no going back.
For starters, let's go right back to the beginning. Superman in 1978 gets a big early leg up on Batman because it was a comic book hero film that worked for everyone. Batman in the 60s was a campy kids show, although that decision was made after a more adult-themed pilot bombed with test audiences. If Batman 1966 showed that these properties might be making money, Superman proved the hypothesis, but then kind of hogged all the green cheddar for himself. For all the impact the OG Superman had on the movie-making industry, it would be another 11 years before superheroes sorted the Cineplex in the same way, and yeah, that guy was Batman.
Gives a feller a good feeling to know they're up there doing their job.
Batman 1989 showed us what to do with an origin story, even if it deviated from the comics. Batman Returns, though it earned its 80% on the Tomatometer, also reminded us of the risks of getting too dark or wacky or Burton-y making a follow-up, even though it did perform incredibly well at the box office. If parents were mad about that film's adult themes, Batman Forever overcorrected in the other direction. Whereas the Bat movies kept showing us exactly what to do and what not to do, Christopher Reeve's Superman franchise went how most of them do. It saw diminishing returns and ended with a thud barely heard by anyone with that fourth film. And as much as I despised Batman and Robin then and don't even enjoy hate watching it today, in an odd way, Batman and Robin is one of the most important comic book-based films ever. Ever! Why? Because it ran Batman into the ground in such a spectacularly awful, obvious, gloriously bad fashion that it acted as the polar opposite of Superman 4. With the quest for peace, we were just kind of exhausted and said, okay, no more Superman movies.
Stop! Don't do it! The people!
With Batman and Robin, we used more evil words like ruin and end and dead, and because it was such a terrible outing, it set the stage for a complete reboot not seen since really ever. Batman 1989 had more than 20 years to reconstruct the whiz-bang-pow Adam West Caped Crusader. But in 2005, when we were still licking our wounded bat cheeks, Christopher Nolan swooped in and delivered the vengeful justice we all knew we wanted, we just didn't know how to go about getting it.
I swear to God.
Swear to me!
Batman Begins completed the Phoenix Ashes cycle and set the path for Superman to return the next year and for Iron Man to have his own compelling origin story in 2008. The Dark Knight's contribution to society can be witnessed by a glimpse into the ivory tower of Hollywood elite. Heath Ledger winning a posthumous award for playing a Batman villain was a landmark achievement, but just as much was what didn't happen at the Oscars ceremony. The film itself was snubbed for a Best Picture nomination, and the ensuing outcry resulted in the Academy allowing for twice as many Best Picture candidates the very next year. I do want to give Superman the movie or the motion picture, depending on what poster you're looking at, its roses too, as it did garner 3 Oscar nominations for sound, music, and editing, and won a Special Achievement Award for its groundbreaking visual effects. Yet while its Oscar winner Marlon Brando wasn't really invested in being in the movie at all, today A-listers are all the rage in sinking their fangs into a juicy comic book movie part. Yes, that one was literally for you, Jared Leto's Joker, now Morbius. I'm excited. Superman stands as a symbol of hope and also remains the first big-time comic book film blockbuster to appeal to the masses. But Batman has been setting trends followed by every major studio since that summer in 1989, when he was in sold-out theaters, the Prince soundtrack was all over the radio, and there was a scarcity of basic black t-shirts because so many entrepreneurs were making and selling knockoff Bat merch. As Yogurt famously said, merchandising. Fans didn't initially like the Michael Keaton casting news, thus they added over 50,000 signatures to a petition long before Change.org made everyone think they could remake The Last Jedi. And Batman the Animated Series is hailed as one of the greatest TV series, period, thanks in large part to the vocal talents of one of the all-time best, Kevin Conroy. Superman might be more pure of heart and stand for the ideal version of us all, but as far as impact and legacy, Batman has done more for Hollywood's perception of superheroes and for the comic book industry's perception of the consumer than any single character before or since. And for that, it is Batman who gets the win in the social impact round, thus giving him the match 3-2.
You really are quite bright, despite what people say.
Look, this could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, Batman kind of slept with Superman's mom. Sorta. So Ben Affleck obviously played Bruce Wayne/Batman, but he also starred as George Reeves in a film called Hollywoodland. Reeves played Superman on TV, and in the movie, he has an affair with Diane Lane's character. Diane Lane would go on to play Martha Kent, so Superman is in a tough spot. Either Batman hooked up with your mom, or you did.
I have so many questions.
There's no good way out of this for him, but I find Superman now justified in ripping the hood off the Batmobile. Well, that does it for this epic edition of Versus. And remember, it's just my opinion. Hit me up on social media, @Mark Ellis Live, with your take. And keep checking back here at Rotten Tomatoes for all the latest and greatest in the world of movies, TV, and beyond. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark Ellis, and I think I will get drive-through.